All right, everybody, good evening and welcome to the November club meeting and elections. And I left October on there, I apologize. Start out with a moment of sunshine. Michelle, I believe you said Sue Ellen Khan is dealing with cancer. Cancer diagnosis, right? Still with us? Okay. Yep. Anyone else?
It's Tron, by the way.
Is it Cron?
It is.
I
That's
apologize.
fine.
I think I copied it off. So,
You were tired, that's.
yeah. Yeah, other than that, my wife goes under surgery for knee surgery on Black Friday. So we got the first time I've ever seen the medical industry give a Black Friday deal.
Second knee free.
Second time free, because the first one was February. They did a light work on it and they said, well, it doesn't look that bad. Let's see how you heal. And now they're like, yeah, we need to do the second. So I'm like, get it in this year because we're covered. All right, well, that's going to be a short list on that one. Membership. Evening, Mike.
How you doing today?
I'm alive.
Not a whole lot going on with membership at this point. Hopefully we'll have a slightly modified application available for you to look at. Open registration starting basically January 1 for 2025. I think that, I want to thank those of you that have participated in the different activities. We're going to focus a little bit more next year. If you fill out anything in the bottom part there that says you'd like to be part of a committee to do this or that, we're going to make sure that your name gets passed on to the committee chairman so that you could expect to be contacted and hopefully participate fuller.
Yeah, additionally, we'll get this updated down below for this next year. Mike had suggested we make a couple changes to get, I think jackpot's missing, you said?
Pardon?
I think you said jackpot was missing
Yeah,
out there.
yeah,
It
for
still
example,
says that's
jackpot's
too
not on there right now. We'll add jackpot on there if you want to be involved in helping out with the jackpot series type of thing. And we may eliminate some things as well.
Yeah,
So
it's actually chilly
All right.
up here.
that's it for membership.
Okay,
Coming to the end of the year, going to start all over again in 2025 and get them in early.
thank you. Michelle, are you ready to do
No,
distribution?
he's double checking membership.
Got it. Okay, so we'll defer this and come back to it then. I will bring this up though. We've got currently nominations for secretary. For those of you who don't know, Michelle's stepping down from the secretary position to help focus on operations of Salmonorama and helping with the bookkeeping. And so, yeah, she's retaining a board position, just stepping out of the role of secretary. Dale has been getting involved in just about every event we have and has offered to step up to be secretary. We're also open to any other nominations before we go to vote. For the board of director positions, we do have 5 two-year terms out there. We currently have 5 candidates that were nominated and accepted the nomination. And then we have obviously room for any nominations tonight before we go to vote. So we'll circle back after Mike's confirmed all the election these are here. Fishing reports, anybody been out lately?
I was out Friday, brown trout, stealing a ranger spoon out in front of the harbor, steal a rainbow trout on that also. Halfway out to the reef, another brown. And coming back on the other side of the reef, the small king, and then 2 other drive-bys. Going out this Friday again.
It's hard, you can't read them.
Anyone else?
Old timer.
Yes. Shocking boats were in today
Oh,
at the yacht club here. They ended up, there's 2 boats shocking. They got, most of their fish west of the bridge here. One boat had 30 on one trip, and the other one had just as many, so I don't know what they ended up getting total.
What were they taking?
Last week they shot and mostly browns, they're keeping the browns, they're taking them back to, wild growers. Or not wild growers, they're taking them back to, cattle marine. And then, they're not ready for spawning yet. They also, last week, they didn't do anything as far as shocking in the river and the harbor. They were getting fish outside the harbor, up along the piers. So that was different, so at least the browns moved in, if you're looking to catch them on the shore. It was pretty good, I took some videos and it's off in between the piers here. And they got 2 people with the nets and they were getting doubles and missing fish, so it was real good. That's it.
They're targeting browns?
Yeah, they need them for stocking, so they need to take them to the hatchery. And then they'll spawn them up there, and then they release them somewhere else, they don't release them back down here.
I should try that technique. Catch more. This is gonna transition, I think, next into, yeah. I think you got 3 in a row, so
Okay.
I'll let you lead on all 3 of these topics.
Oh geez, I just can't thank everybody enough for the fish and the club and Jim. Like everybody knows I'm a crier, you know, this has been so awesome for Val. This is my boss, Darren.
I'm in the picture, I'm the guy.
Still rocking a good beard.
Yeah, it's not bad, right? I had to shave it down a little bit.
Jim, how many do we have today?
Beers?
Oh.
I think we're right around 75.
Wow.
I brought 2 in.
And we brought 2 in.
Still taking donations.
Yeah, so for those that didn't bring a turkey that want to make a donation, just give the donation to Michelle. Tomorrow we'll be picking up the additional turkeys, bringing them over to the Veterans Outreach.
We had,
Hopefully we make a difference in what they can give out this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he is.
yeah, we actually had some scout parents that donated $40 too, last night at, Troop 129's meeting when they heard about this, so. Everybody getting involved, but thank you all for the impact.
And also I will add, if anybody's got any spare time or needs to get any merit points for like the Boy Scouts or something, they can definitely use some help up there.
Had to be a-
Yeah.
At the
Veterans
center,
Outreach.
With Mary Lee having a broken arm, they're down equivalent to 4 people now. So,
Yeah, is there times that is particular for that?
Yeah, you want me to say.
Yeah, please feel free.
So, yeah, it's a holiday time, right? So this is really, any holiday, especially during Thanksgiving, Christmas is our. We like to kind of give back as much as we can to the veterans, and what, obviously what we like to do is, give, so everything is donation driven, but holiday baskets, so turkey baskets, their Thanksgiving, Christmas baskets, with all the trimmings, is that we've been doing this since we've been established. And so this year, just to give you an idea, just a year ago, I think we handed out 220, 230 baskets. This year, it's up to over 300. So, I mean, yeah, and it's good, but it kind of tells you the state of affairs that we're at right now with veterans, right? So, we're seeing an uptick in visitation and, the number of new signups on a daily or a weekly basis. So, this is unique and much appreciated.
aren't you currently at about 300 veterans?
Yeah, well, yeah, we're over 300 now. Yeah, what I just mentioned, and right now we're sitting on about without your donations today, we were sitting on, I think, 120 we counted turkeys, including a donation that we received last weekend. With this donation, we'll be sitting right over 200, and with any additional that Jim's able to receive or that's brought in and donated, that'll just about cover it, which is again unique now, as in prior years, we've had to go out and buy the remaining amount of turkeys, which usually is about 190 to 100. So it's, the community's really stepped up in organizations like this, like these organizations have really helped out and. I just can't tell you how appreciative our organization is to partner with such a great. Organization like Salmon Unlimited.
I wasn't looking for a pat on the back. I was looking for you to tell when the volunteers should show up to
Oh,
work.
yeah. That
But,
vacation time.
But so with volunteers though, we do, yeah, so I guess what I was getting to was. When we do hand out, which is next week, for Thanksgiving, we have a setup where, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, anybody who signed up for those days as a regular shopping day, we hand them out. The more volunteers we get, and the more interaction we get with the veterans, with community-based organizations like these, the better, right? You know, they get to learn about you, you get to learn about them, and a lot of times it's mutually beneficial,
So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
of next week.
time,
8 AM to 4 PM.
8 AM, well, so 10 AM to 4 PM on Tuesday. 12 to 5 on Wednesday and 12 to 4 on Thursday, so
sounds like the best thing would be for them to call you.
exactly, so Mary Lee has my number, I didn't bring any cards,
We know where to find you.
yeah, you know, where Yelp Street.
Are you funded by the government or are you self-funded or grants?
Self-funded.
What is your,
They're
how do you get your
501c3
funding
just like
through
us.
everything?
We are, yeah.
501c3
We are a
just like we are.
501c3 organization, so we everything is either donated or we receive grants through state, federal fund, local, state, federal.
Okay.
And I can say the few times that I've done drop offs. There's veterans waiting in their car 2 or 3 hours before they even open. To get these donations. So. It's a tribute to. You know, the efforts that they put in to provide this, but also giving back to the veterans. It's been very humbling for us to be involved.
Yeah,
Us as well.
and you know, we'll hear about what Brian's doing up in Milwaukee, but there's probably more we can do on the lake side next year, so we'll work on that. Thank you again for coming out.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, 25.
Okay.
And then tethering off of that, you had some information about this year's passage and
Oh, I
counts
told
in
it
the
to you.
river, right?
Yeah, today was the second heaviest since they've been open.
10 years, last 10
To
years.
whatever is that, 10
Yeah.
years, right? So, there was a lot of coho that came through.
Yeah.
Not as many Chinook, but a lot of coho came through. I gotta look it up on my phone.
Just under 6,000 fish
Yeah.
they captured, and the counts that they saw in the river too, they said it was like one of the strongest years for steelhead in the last 10 years.
Even as low as that water was.
Yep.
I mean, I could have walked across it. It was that low.
So good performance
And-
there.
Thank you to,
That's the next one.
okay,
There you go.
Andy, Brad, Dale, and Jeff, and because the second day, while I was laying in the emergency room. And I was on a few medications, and I was like, crap. I gotta close the window. Who am I gonna get to close the window? So Jeff did that for me.
Yeah, we had a good rotation of people step up and volunteer to help, which is great to see. So again, thank you all for stepping in there. Bradley. Oh. I should have caught it. You didn't send it to me before the start of the meeting. All right. Bradley's message. Hello and good evening. Hope everyone is having a good November so far. I have minimal announcements for Jackpot 2025 or tonight. The 2025 dates will be announced publicly soon. Crap. Those are the tentative ones up there. They are May 17th, June 7th, August 9th, and August 23rd. Sure I got those right. The following Sundays are the backup, as we've traditionally had. And then September 6th and 7th as a lateral backup beyond that if we need. The other thing is we'd be open to having some new committee members to join the Jackpot group. Please see Bradley and reach out to him if you'd be interested. They're working to try to make Jackpot even better and grow it larger. He is still running a Super Bowl pool and strip cards. However, tonight would be your best time to get your favorite spots and numbers. He plans to release So after tonight, instead of just being in the club, he's going to go public with the pool to fill the rest of the spots. So if you want to grab a spot in the football pool, which helps benefit the Jackpot Series, stop and see him tonight. How much is the pool? Looks like there's a couple different ones you might want to check on the sheet.
There's a 500, there's a 20. And I don't remember. what the other one was.
You'll have to check. I haven't gone and put a square up yet either. Lastly, I did mention this before, but want to mention it again. He has some black plastic lumbers in various sizes up to 7 feet. So they're like plastic press board that looks like timber. He's gotten a hold of them, but anything that's bought, any of these that he has that are bought, the majority of the proceeds will go directly to the Jackpot Series. He also has some small pieces of like 4 foot with him here if you want to see some samples of what the material is. If you're doing anything like sheds and you want to lay something on the ground that won't rot, this might be a great base layer for that, or hunting shacks or whatever, ice shacks. Just synthetic material for the ground. And I think that's it for him.
Guess we talked about the makeup game was gonna be the first weekend in September, just in case one doesn't go.
Correct. So it's the following Sundays for each individual one, but if we have to roll even further,
September 6th.
6th and 7th are the true backups beyond that. Mr. Jim.
So December, we will be starting the meetings again, the first Monday of each month here at the Fifth Street Yacht Club at 7 p.m. We are still looking for some volunteers to help us run the event. We are kind of in the midst of rebuilding again based on sponsorship, which hopefully we'll start picking up a little bit more here soon, but with the hunting season and holidays and everything, things are kind of on a low right now. We will be taking advantage of the Black Fridays sales coming up, so Jason, look forward to that. Other than that, we really don't have a lot of updates. Those that may not have been following, it is a $50,000 grand prize again this year. So we will not be going backwards from last year. And other than that, we'll build as we go.
Yeah.
But we definitely need more participation.
Yeah. And also, we're looking for more participation at the event to try to keep more of the cash in our hands instead of third parties helping us. So, try to help generate additional volunteers. Do we want to do the vote? Yeah, we'll jump back to the vote real quick and then go to guest speaker. Get us back in touch. So,
Just for a
oh,
second.
yes.
Our annual Weir Day, went pretty well. Volunteers was really good for everything other than the kids casting game. Could have used some volunteers if somebody might want to volunteer for that next year. It's just basically they cast to the little fish, they reel them in. We virtually didn't have anybody to help. They just kind of did whatever on their own. But we could use help. We did have 504 adults show up. And 230 children came through the whole Weir system and got to see how everything was, sampling the food and everything else. So it was a very good turnout and a good representation of our club putting something on like that. So thank you to all the volunteers that were there. I really appreciate it. Made my day go a lot easier.
Yeah, me too. The DNR actually got me a double-handed clicker, so I didn't have to have 2 separate clickers.
Yeah, what's a typical turnout for us? It seems like that was a good.
Actually, we've had higher, we've had over 1,000 in traffic days, but there was so
Yeah.
much going on that day. The stand down was that day.
Oh, that's right.
And that's why we didn't have volunteers from the second Saturday of October. It was the veterans stand down. And that's, then a lot of our volunteers, oh yeah, and then the. actually, the
Really,
Scouts had
thank you to all the volunteers.
But
She doesn't have one this.
They had stand down, but they were also.
That was prior, I didn't register her this year as an individual, so it's just me and the proxy.
Dependent on.
No,
They don't, it's one vote per family for the registration.
One per family then?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, we shut.
So, like,
the ring.
unless they pay for separate.
Okay.
So the first year I had Lily paid separate, last year,
I was
I
trying
just
to
got,
figure that out.
yeah, she used to be her own registration.
Is there any other nominations for tonight?
That's what, yeah, this is final opportunity for any nominations for board positions or for officer. Hearing none. Final offer. All right. Please take the opportunity, and then Michelle, are you going to collect them as well? We don't. Yeah, seeing there is none, I mean, it is what,
If anyone has the right.
this is the closest to a full board from what I've understood that we've gotten in a long time. Which is positive to see, but also sad to hear about historically.
I mean, even if we bring somebody in there, it'll be the 1 year.
Maybe the 1 year, right?
Yeah.
Who don't you like? Just write them in.
Just the 5 running.
Wow.
Nice pen, Michelle. Michelle, nice pen.
You can have it. You can have it. I'm serious, you can have it.
Because believe me, we have this more.
Oh, you got these? I got these from another person. I don't wanna. I brought a whole bunch of extras. When you she has a boundaries, be sure to bring Lily in. Participate every year. Yep, we've done 3 of the last 4 years. The only year we didn't do it was 3 years ago. My engine blew up and I had to swap engines. But we did it.
His first mate?
No, she's captain.
You're the captain?
Yeah, you're captain. So we did it at the Summer Festival doing 4 years ago, and then the last 2 years at South Shore.
Summer Festival, my best years. They had the biggest fish.
There's one more.
Something like that.
Oh, did it?
Right outside of the gap was something like that.
That's some research net or something.
No, they were commercial.
That's all.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that.
How could they put it? Yeah. Yeah, so what else? Sure, why don't we, yeah, if you guys are free, if we could have some volunteers to help load the turkeys real quick, that way they can slide out. Yes, please.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. We like I said, they've got.
Oh, I kind of wanted to.
And we're gonna talk to our club and see what this is, we can find other ways for more fishermen, captains, maybe it's not open to the public. But if they take keys, one ways and keep them extra. Yeah. So we gotta, well, we gotta figure it out, it's just where they all, like, she's got, she's where I am. And then it's like, we don't have a lot, we have it, so maybe it's. Same thing, we're in the marina. And then like, she said, one for you, so yeah, really, loads up and roll.
I didn't mean to start.
Oh, no, you're right.
No, I was like, I jump into it, spiel.
You're in.
I'm like, okay, here.
Executive director, then you gotta sell the organization. I'm on 4 boards, I'm with you.
I she was barely lose going.
Yeah.
I'll be, amazed if they all.
Even though they will grow.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
We'll get it. I got a van.
Yeah, pull it up. We have to.
Me.
Purple's also.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, did somebody get a picture of that mountain of turkeys? Their phone?
Yeah. Okay.
A picture of the turkey.
I think Bob's doing, are you guys getting it?
Yeah, they got
And then if you send it to me, then I'll send it to him to get it on the Facebook page for the Veterans Outreach.
She got it.
I didn't store it on the table, 3 photos.
My dad.
Merely, I got 3 pictures across the table. Yeah, I'll text them to you.
Excuse me. The, back in the world there.
I don't know if I ever met you. Nope, I'm just a guest. Corey? Yeah.
Where?
What's that?
What are you?
Fish or? Fishing, no, just from shore. Yeah, I caught,
What do you mean?
Corey, nice to meet you.
Yeah. Who I met at the Weir.
Oh, that's right, you were talking about, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Told him to combine.
Check things out.
Yeah.
See.
You've been in the area like that?
Yeah, I've just.
Wait,
Oh, they got pictures. Oh, it's not with.
Okay.
My boat, his is in the unit storage, so he can pull it out right now during the fall season, the winter season, where mine's winterized.
I got.
Yeah, so he can pull it out. and put it in there.
I'll be taking it here after my Friday.
Oh, I mean, we'll put it through.
Well, cause I'll be gone here for a week. So I don't wanna keep going while I'm gone.
Where were you from?
Milwaukee.
Okay.
I lived, 12 here in Racine, but I worked in, by Sturdivant too, so my wife works in the hospital in Ascension.
Yeah.
So we just beneficial for us to get here.
Yeah.
So,
What are you working for? Okay.
Food service.
Yep.
Yeah. So, this is my first year actually fishing for salmon.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, I've caught 2 cases.
Yeah.
I caught a steelhead today.
Okay.
Inside the harbor.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, the steel in there.
they're in there. Oh, yeah. So first I was using the, what do you call it? Flicker shad, working down deep.
Okay.
And then I slowly worked my way up to ABD 1.0.
Yeah, really shallow.
They're right on top.
They're on top, cause they're my lead cords, I'm getting mine down two colors.
Yeah.
One color.
Now, I don't know if I'm supposed to fish inside the harbor, they, folks are not there.
Yeah, so normally they allow, after all boats are gone, they normally open the gates so the public can allow you on the dock, because that's, I'm in the dock.
Yeah.
But, this year they're starting to pour the rehab on the docks, so some of them may be closed off, but the west side may be opened up to the public.
Is it still gates or?
You'll see the gates are open.
They are, but there is a sign on there that says no fishing and no something.
No, that's during the season when the boats are in, they don't
Oh,
allow.
yeah, I would never.
When the gates are propped open, it's fair game. They only allow them, they only open them up to the fishermen. When the last,
Side, we're gonna rebuild that.
yeah, so closest to the river mouth, that whole section is being demolished, and they're building new infrastructure out there. And then next year it'll be a little bit more west, and then the following 2 years, the far west end. So anything that's open and not blocked out for construction, you should be able to do.
Yeah, they're all in there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and when it's, you know, I don't, you'll see guys in there ice fishing all.
Stepping off the top.
Yeah.
Because that'll be thin.
Sometimes it's nice to home, get right by the dock and just stay on the dock.
I've never ice fished, so I don't know much, but I know the gaps are.
Actually, when I folded those here, I thought the inside was sewing, and I thought that was the end of the pocket. I'm like, I'll cut that. But then I stuck my hand in, like, these are real.
They do a bunch of right next.
Oh, let's see.
A lot of times they're underneath that there. Anyhow.
For sure. Yeah, there's some friends that YouTube channel where he takes a charger off. His name is Andrew Lowe.
I don't know the name.
Yeah, he was out, with a guy, taking flying up. I was over on the Blue Fox. He's like, you could totally go in there. He's like, no. So that's why I saw those signs.
There's only two.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And now they're home, fair game. I believe.
Yes.
If you have any questions. If you got any questions, just give me a call.
He was good.
Usually, Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I go by the way.
You're sitting like that.
right. West Wednesday.
Yeah, it's gonna be a calm day on Friday, so on Friday. They won't go long, about 6. I gotta work. Okay, I'm short of people already.
So much like.
Definitely keep me posted.
I wish you would have come over when you're.
Oh, yeah, I'll get your number from you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got your telephone number?
No, he has me on Facebook, if you want. Oh, yeah, I have it.
You can send it like to my phone. I'm saying we are.
For sure.
Yes.
I'll try to get it into the thing. Yep. He's the president.
Very good.
Yeah, he owns it. I thought I'd say so.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
We're gonna do this again.
Huh?
We're gonna start the meeting up or?
Yeah,
done?
yeah. All right, I think. If we can get it, yeah, I think we're gonna get going with our guest speaker here in a minute. Yeah, I mean, full size.
Fair.
That's a little younger than.
Yeah.
Well, so that's why I looked and I'm like, is that him? And I had to look through all the pictures to make sure. I'm like, yeah, that's it. Cause I saw it was it a brother?
I have a twin.
Yeah, and then it was like all of them were the two, and I'm like, damn, which one is it? So I wasn't sure if it was you or the twin. It was hard to find pictures back. And then your picture on LinkedIn is that one, and I'm like, I'm not putting that on here. So. All right, all right.
I can't whistle like I used to, that's too bad.
All right, Jake, you want that? I would like to introduce Milwaukee Great Lakes Sports Fishermen Club President, Brian Hayden. And he's been helpful with our Salmonorama setup up in Milwaukee, along, of course, with Mary Lee's dedication to it. But we invited him in to give us a little background on what's going on with their club and a little Q&A session. Right button will advance slides.
Yeah, so president of the Great Lakes Sports Fishermen, on top of that. I'm on the Wisconsin Conservation Congress, and CDAC committee, probably do a bunch of other shit as well, but ask me any questions you guys want. We can talk about the club, we can talk about some of the cool stuff that we're doing. I've just got pictures, I don't have like an informational slide, so I'll just
That's
do a lot of talking. But
This group's easily entertained by pictures and colors. So.
yeah, so here's what we'll kind of go through, but there's probably stuff that I missed and we'll just naturally come up. But fish stocking, so one of the things. Wait a minute.
Should be right button. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I clicked off there.
All right, so fish stocking, I've been the president of the club for, I think this is my second or third year, being the president. I served the vice president before that. We had built up quite a bit of coffers, you know, in the club's funds. And one of the first things that I did, I was trying to think to myself, what is our organization here for? And we're a conservation organization Our mission is to basically support the fishery, you know, and our net pens are getting kind of old. And on top of being old, the DNR, you may have noticed, has shifted a little bit of their stocking calendar. So our pens are so big, they're iron, you know, iron pens that had to be assembled every time that we wanted to put them together. And we would have to use the sailing center's crane in order to get them like loaded into the water. So you guys, I think, might have ones that are like trailered or
They roll it.
mobile,
They're on
right?
wheels and stuff.
Yeah, yours are a little bit mobile. So for us, like, when the DNR would call and say, you know, it's April, you know, 24th, we're gonna be dropping the fish off. The sailing center wouldn't let us do it because their docks aren't in and their cranes aren't operational yet. So, I was like, all right, well, let's solve this problem. These things are old. We gotta get new nets anyways. How are we gonna do it? So we went out and bought 3 pontoon boats, 22 footers and a 30-footer pontoon boats. That we got off Facebook for a couple grand or a grand a piece or something like that. And then we refabricated and we ripped them all apart, put decks on them. And you can see that we put this like little hole in there. That's just for us to feed the fish. But the net basically drapes all the way around. You can see, you know, here we got the poles that slide up and down. They're mobile, they can go in and out whenever we want. The DNR, we filed for a new permit to have the fish stocking up the river. So we're probably 2 miles up the Milwaukee River, just shy of where the North Avenue Dam is in Milwaukee, if you guys know that. And no motors on them, so we just tow them up, dock them at the rowing club. We got a partnership with them. Yeah, I mean, it was a big investment. I think we probably put about 40 grand into the 3 different pens. But we have the ability, like your club, to hold the fish for 2 to 3 weeks. The first year we got 1 day shy of our 3 weeks before the temperatures spiked on us. This last year we got just about 2 weeks with the fish, being able to feed them. So it's been pretty successful. And you know, one of the other things that I liked about these pens is that they are really easy to get in and out. We got a phone call from the DNR a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago. Laura asked me, hey, I've got some brook trout we want to put in the water. Can you guys get the nets deployed tomorrow? And I'm like, all right, let's get some phone calls. Well, we were able to get people to volunteer to get the nets in the water. I just couldn't get in touch with the people at the rowing club to say, hey, can I use your docks? Are they still in? Are they coming out? Like, am I gonna be able to put them there? So we didn't actually get to do it, but the point is that they're super easy. We just back the boat up and drop them in the water and they're good to go. For me, that's the big achievement so far. That's my big contribution to the club, are these new net pens that last us for hopefully another 20 years. Any questions about that?
You start putting them back in the marina, so the fish go back in there.
Well, okay, so the DNR wanted us to move it up the river.
Yeah.
They want the fish to imprint further upstream. They had been, in lieu of us not getting our net pens in, they've been going up to like Lakefront Brewery and just dumping them in the water up there anyways. So that's their preference. But they'll let us do it in the harbor as a backup. On my permit, that's actually the backup location is the sailing center. But yeah, so
That makes it a lot more fun in the fall.
it does.
You actually mentioned that the DNR wanted them in the pens. You know, we had that conversation with them earlier this year, right? About their analytics review about whether the imprinting was working well enough or not.
They used I was at the meeting when Cheryl talked about it.
Yeah.
And I talked to Laura about it afterwards. They were very intentional about, and Cheryl's good about using very precise words, right?
Yeah.
So there is no evidence to, substantiate or deny whether it's good or it's bad. There's a million factors that go into the return, and how they would analyze it. And anecdotally, they just couldn't correlate it to any better returns or not better returns. But Cheryl and I talked at the Journal Sentinel Sports Show, which was, I think, right after that meeting. And she just really wanted to strongly reiterate, look, we're committed to working with the clubs on this. We still think it's a good idea. Science may or may not support it. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to do it. So continue to do it. We'll still approve new clubs if they want to do net bends. But we're just not gonna push it like we used to. Which, I mean, I guess I kind of see the point. But that, yeah, fair point. They're definitely supportive of it. And you talk to Aaron, Aaron Schiller, you talk to Laura. They, maybe in a private one-on-one conversation, would share with you that they still think that it does have a positive impact. I will say, you talk about the harbor, stocking in the harbor. One thing that I have noticed in the last couple of years, is that the fish tend to stay longer in the harbor, throughout the summer.
You can tell the difference since they switched, how many go into there versus not.
But I'm saying when they're still right after stocking, they'll stay in the
Oh, yeah.
harbor. They're staying in the harbor longer, because they've worked their way down, they're just more comfortable. Rather than getting dumped into, inside the harbor proper and then just finding a place to get out in the cover. A couple of my friends that, are docked on the, like A dock or whatever, they'll catch them jigging for perch. They'll catch those fingerlings, all the way into like towards the end of June. So they're staying in the harbor to, really imprint. So I think it's gonna actually, eventually help a little bit. Maybe not in the harbor fishing so much, but like definitely the river returns will be better, would be kind of my guess. I don't know, what else you guys want to know about the fish? We stocked this year the Chinook. We had the opportunity to do the brook trout. They stocked 25,000 brook trout in the Milwaukee River last week. And then I think Laura said that they had some leftover coho they're gonna dump in there too, so.
How far have you guys seen now that they've removed the, it wasn't Mequon, what was the dam that they just put that
The
ladder?
ladder up at Clutch Park?
Yeah, have you seen success, fish getting around the ladder?
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
That's cool. So
So,
that'll take you up to what now, Cedarburg? area?
Grafton Dam is the one that's like, that's the next one.
That's the next one up, right?
Stop it.
Yeah, wow.
But like, up in Mequon, they have they were getting over the Clutch Dam anyways.
Yeah, it's not that big.
It's not that big. This makes it a lot easier, and I think it's gonna have a bigger impact on like, other fish that like, couldn't get up, over that dam. Than it would the salmon. Because up at Deansville, I don't know if it's still operational, but they got the fish cam in the fish ladder over there.
No,
And you can go and take a look at real time, like you can see fish going through there all the time. Salmon go through there. They've been doing it for years. But that Grafton Dam is where that breaks. And they are talking about doing a fish ladder there, but a
yeah,
little harder. It's a bigger dam.
bigger dam, yeah.
What other fish stockings are you aware of that's going on up there? I remember a few years ago hearing about the walleyes being dumped up there, the sturgeon, they're still doing that. Do you hear of any other type stuff?
So Milwaukee, we got the big river estuary cleanup, project that's going on. They are not willing to talk about stocking walleye until that river cleanup is done. And so the reason why they stopped doing that was my club was the number one reason why they stopped doing it. And this is before I was a part of the organization, but I think it was our lawsuit that basically kind of put the kibosh on it. But practically speaking, it was because of the toxins in the river. There was no reproduction. Absolutely no reproduction in it. Laura, when they did their shocking this year, they still catch a few walleyes that have been hanging around for years. So some 80-year-old walleye, that, you wouldn't ever want to touch.
Well, we caught one snout fishing off of Wood Point.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like.
But now Aaron is, so after this river cleanup is done, they're willing to talk about doing the walleye again, in the Milwaukee Harbor. Because those, all that contaminated soil is going to be out of the system. In addition to that, there's some opportunities. They're looking at building some structure along the break wall that would support like the perch fishery and stuff like that as well. So trying to get that back into Milwaukee, giving him a little bit more structure on the break wall. You're gonna do like a little bit of a berm or something like that.
Right.
That was one thing that they've talked about. But Aaron's looking at those options and, you know, we've talked about doing some grant work together to see if, you know, what opportunities we can for that. But as far as the stocking that I'm aware of, the only real stocking is the game fish. You know, in Milwaukee, that's all I'm aware of. So Chinook and coho and brown trout, brook trout, and the lake trout through the Fish and Wildlife.
What was the lawsuit?
So I,
That's fine, it was
this
before
is,
you.
it is before me, but here's the hearsay part of it. So the president of the club at that time, felt that these walleye were eating my salmon fish,
Oh.
right? And so wanted them to be gone, to protect the salmon fish. So
get rid of the native.
So I mean, they spent
Wow.
$70,000-$80,000 of the club's funds to file that lawsuit. I mean, it was a shit ton of money. It was almost the death of our club, you know, from what I've been told. So it was a big deal. So that's what that was.
Well, I did have, just scratching.
No, thanks, I was just curious. You said it, I'm like, what would that be for?
Yeah.
I never heard it, so
What's that?
I never heard that story.
Yeah, well, again, it's hearsay, so, but that's what I was told. I won't be doing anything like that. I was just up at the Mississippi Walleye Fishing. I love it. You know, I'd love to have some walleye back here. I think I caught one walleye completely by mistake, by the lighthouse, over by Summerfest. Completely random thing.
No, that's nice to hear that you guys might do structure up there, because, you know, it was always a good fishing area, perch and smelt and, you know.
Yeah, that's
Some
the
of that
one thing that
back.
I'm really pissed about is the smelt fishing in the Milwaukee Harbor is pretty much gone. So
They took the one spot away.
they took the one spot away. You know, I didn't actually talk about that, but that's one thing that our club did is before that cleanup project blocked that off. You know, the county had decided they were gonna not allow smelt fishing there. You know, they're just gonna shut it down. And technically speaking, the gates underneath the home bridge were supposed to be locked. You know, from 10 o'clock at night until 4 a.m. is what the city says. And they were going to do it. The Port of Milwaukee was like, we're gonna lock this down. We're not allowing the smelt fishermen to stay under the bridge. Which was weird because they don't lock that gate ever. Like they were gonna do it for the smelt fishing. Maybe this is a really good, I like this story because it ties it all together. So I got really active in it. I just started getting into smelt fishing again, you know, did it when I was a kid. And I was kind of pissed, like, you know, like, why are we gonna do this? I talked to the Port of Milwaukee director, I talked to, you know, a bunch of different people, and they said, well, it's kind of out of our hands. The Department of Homeland Security says that the bridge is a critical infrastructure and they don't want anybody underneath there, you know, at weird hours, have to protect the freeway kind of shit. And I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
And I said, well, get us, you know, the security guard, that was the other thing. The security guard leaves at 10 o'clock. So, you know, once they leave, that's it. And I'm like, well, how much is a security guard? Well, I said, I'll donate the money for the security guard. Just get them to stay overnight. The club will pay, would turn out to be like $500 or something like that. Like the club will pay for it. So I reached out to the local alderman, talked to Paul Smith at the Journal Sentinel, like blah, blah, blah. Got a hold of my alderwoman, Marina Dmitrievich, and surprisingly, she called me back and heard my story. And she goes, Brian, this is, you know, right around COVID. She goes, when COVID happened, I'm a single mother, I've got a son. He wanted to go fishing. I wanted to get outside. Like I went to one of your fishing clinics and I became a fisherman. How can I help? You know, so like it just comes around, right? So she made a couple of phone calls. I got a call like 2-3 hours later. You're good. We're gonna leave it open. So it's a good story, but Yeah, speaking of the kids fishing clinics. Probably the most impactful thing that we've done, is the kids fishing clinics over the years. We have really, really tried to press this. The future of our clubs depends on new kids, new people starting to learn how to fish and getting involved. When, just a couple years ago, it was pathetic. We get like 12 kids, most of them were grandkids of the members of the club. And we have vastly more volunteers, standing around with their thumbs up their butts and, than it was anything else. This last 2 years in a row, we have had well over 100 kids at most of our kids fishing clinics. So, big turnout. We're doing 4 of them a year. We've got the 2 DNR ones, the ice fishing clinics, the kids fishing clinic in the spring. And then we do one at Boone, Daniel Boone. And then we do another one with the Boy Scouts every year. Daniel Boone one has like 75 kids that show up. It's open to the public. It's been great.
We're looking forward to bringing ours back in
So,
2025.
I got a couple questions with that, which
Yeah.
because you and I have never discussed that.
Sure.
Do the kids catch fish or have you gone through periods where they don't catch fish or they do catch fish?
They always catch fish. There was one year that like the ice fishing, this picture right here is from a couple of years ago. That was at Humboldt Park, which is kind of like my neighborhood. It's generally where I live. And it's a really shallow pond. And so the Hunger Task Force and the DNR come and stock the ponds. Pretty much the day before or 2 days before we do a kids fishing clinic.
Oh,
They're stocked. And we do Daniel Boone, we get the Hunger Task Force, they've got their hatchery. They'll bring a bunch of fish and dump it in there for us. We always, kids get fish, 100%, they absolutely get fish, except for this year. They put them in the, drill the holes in the water, they dump the fish in there, and the next morning we came out. Cleared the snow off the ice and you see all the fish just floating at the bottom of it. All right, see how this is gonna go this year.
snag one, Johnny.
But the ice fishing is a little tougher, right? Because it's just harder to catch the fish. But we have been catching them. But the spring ones, like the good weather ones, absolutely, they're crushing it. They are pulling rainbow trout, perch, all sorts of shit.
We here we're limited because it's supposed to be an inner city. It's supposed to be, what's it called?
Urban parks.
Urban, yeah.
Yeah.
So it has to be accessible to that. So do you give away presents or random, or do you spend a lot of your budget on that? Do the kids necessarily need that? I personally don't think they need it. It's great, but I don't, and I was big on it at first, but if they're not catching fish, you want to give them something to try again with, or is that something?
So our cost, our like outlay cost for the event is we do free food for the kids. We ask for a donation from adults, but every kid that comes gets a hot dog, bag of chips and, a little pouch of juice or something like that. And then we typically will buy a bunch of like either spawn sacks or wax worms or, just worms.
General bait.
Just some sort of bait for them. We typically will give out some rods, some years, it's kind of like we'll go out and get 4 or 5 rods and just randomly draw every hour or something like that. But the last couple of years, we've gotten fishing rods donated to us. So this last year, we gave pretty much every kid that came in, we gave a fishing rod if they wanted it. But generally we do give them, we try to give them a fishing rod if they want it.
We're mostly closed faced.
Just the closed bail, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just curious.
Kids rods,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they're,
Like the Zepco, the
yeah,
first-
little
the beginning,
Zepcos and
right.
stuff like that, yeah. Yeah, so, try to do that, and then we've got the, 6, 7 stations that they want us to have when you do the official DNR, stations. Safety, yada, yada.
Next question, how many of your members that partake in that are gone through the training and the official background check
The
thing?
official training,
Yeah, the one with
we don't require it for people that are there, but we have people that do it. So our two chairmen are Ryan and Brandon, and they both did. So as the chairman, they have to, but everybody else that volunteers doesn't have to go through it, they don't want to. But you do have to have like you have to have somebody.
Yeah, me and Josh are the.
Yep.
What'd you do for your restrooms?
So the parks that we have, are that we just,
Got him.
They all have them?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, we haven't been charged by the county parks to have the event, so they'll
For
open
any
up
of them or just the DNR ones?
well, the DNR ones are the ones that we do in the county parks.
Mhm.
And so the county doesn't really charge us for it. I think they require us to have our insurance.
Right.
We have
Right.
it's so, we do have the event listed on our insurance. But they don't charge us to use their facilities, so it's got the restrooms in there. And then where we're set up is indoors, so if it's raining out or if it's too cold out or whatever.
That's why we like Quarry Lake Park, but
Yep.
Quarry Lake Park is so freaking cold in
There's no
April.
restrooms or something.
Well,
Yeah,
like, they
there
have
is
the
well.
restrooms, but it's
Uh.
so cold, the fish don't bite until 3 o'clock when the sun has warmed up the
Got it.
lake and
The,
then.
the lake is like 80 feet deep,
Okay,
Right.
cause it's
So-
quarry.
all right,
So like nothing happens until the water warms up,
Drop
and
it
we can
down.
actually smell the cheese or the
sure.
corn or whatever
Sure.
we're throwing down in the water, so. You know, we've kind of held out for that and thought about moving the date, but then we lose the stocking. Right, because it's the perfect place, it's
Yeah.
not too far out in the county, it's accessible to the inner city kids, because those kids. They go home beaming, I mean, they're like, wow, I caught a fish, it's that big, but they're excited because they just brought home supper,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah, and a couple of the members, they have been out there, like bringing spawn sacks and they'll cast it out anytime that they get hooked up, they just hand the rod to
Yeah,
the kid.
handoffs.
You know, so yeah, everybody's catching fish. Last year, this spring one, I just walked around the pond all day long and started handing out wax worms when people needed it, you know, cause we had them, they could take them, but then they'd run out or whatever, and I just keep walking around, you need some more worms, you need some more worms, and yeah, people caught all sorts of, little gills.
Yeah.
But there were a ton of like, good sized rainbow trout that they stocked in there too, so it was cool.
Cool.
Yeah, but that's the future. You have to invest in the future. Partnerships. So there's more. But the two that I'm most proud of are the Fishing Has No Boundaries. Does everybody know and Josh does, I know that. And Captain Lily.
Yeah,
She,
I think we're the only ones in here that
No, Jeff
participated.
I know what it is.
okay.
Yeah,
So Fishing Has No Boundaries is an organization, it's a nationwide organization that will take people who are no longer able to fish on their own out and fish. And so there's chapters all around the country, state, whatever. There's one in Milwaukee. And they do an event once a year to take people out on a fishing trip. So I'll take my boat out and, bring somebody out. Josh's been there. You've been out there. Charter captains will donate their morning trip or something like that for it.
Jason
And
Woda with his like
Jason does.
cruiser, whatever that boat is,
Yeah, I mean,
luxury yacht.
The guys that do Fishing Has No Boundaries, half of them are almost all of them are in our club. But half of them are on the board or have been on the board as well. They're really, heavily involved. And so we donate a couple $1,000s every year to the organization to keep them running and afloat. And we do, I'd say probably 75% of the volunteers come from our club. So it's kind of like a real strong sister partnership. And super rewarding. It's probably my favorite, like, give back to the community thing. I've taken, one gentleman that I took fishing was just fantastic. He was a longtime Lake Michigan fisherman. He had a stroke, lost complete use of left half of his body. And I went out with him and his son, and we caught it's typically like right around June 1st, I think, is
Father's Day weekend usually,
yeah, right around there.
because it's the free fishing weekend for the DNR every year.
We try to target the free fishing weekend. You're right, that's a target. But We caught a 26 or 27 pound king, you know, for this guy. Just such a treat to the look on his face was just absolutely priceless.
And
It's
the one thing I'd add is, you know, there's a lot of members in here who, if you guys are interested, doesn't take big boats to bring these guys out. I mean, you know, we're in our 25-footer. There's a lot of like 20, 22-foot boats and all the
yeah,
way up.
I've got a 23-foot, cabin cruiser. That's great, super awesome. Buddies that I fished with, they've got a 17-foot
He
tracker.
goes out there in really crazy.
Right, but
this year we took him out on the
Crazy.
this year we took him out on the tracker.
Yeah, it was a nice day out
It
there.
was a nice day and, we get the fire department to come in to help get people on and off the boat.
I stole that
So
from
you
you
don't have
guys.
to really worry about that. Fish until they want to come in and, they free lunch for everybody.
Where do you do
Uh,
this out of?
What's that?
Where do you do this out of? Like, not sure what you're doing.
So we have been working, well, I shouldn't say we, because I'm not actually on board
Yeah.
for Fishing Is No Boundaries, but they use South Shore Yacht Club. So if you're familiar with that, they've got the horseshoe there, so you just, it's super convenient. You pull
You
your
can-
boat up,
You can either
firemen drop them in there.
Yeah, we come up the night before, they'll give you a free spot in the horseshoe and you can even plug into power.
Yeah.
They're fantastic there. It's just a great overnight experience. It's my favorite, Lily and I favorite trip every year. Oh,
We jumped in the water.
yeah, Lily, the first year Lily jumped into the water, they hit it at the Summerfest Lagoon at the state park slips there and she jumped in and basically bantered me to jump in after her in like 50-degree water.
Yeah, but the last couple of years we've been doing it at the South Shore Yacht Club
Yeah.
has been letting us use.
And they got that beer garden just south of it, so yeah, you get up there that night.
Volunteering my boat, like my services, we
Yeah.
just tell you kind of the restriction, what we can handle on the boat as far as
Yeah.
people and stuff.
Yeah.
Cause we used to have the water ski boat, and so we weren't gonna be able to handle like wheelchair bound or anything. They had an elder gentleman and his grandson who he sat in the seat that faces backward the whole trip. He just sat in that one seat. Other boats, Jason Woda could probably take 4 guys in wheelchairs and still shoot pool on the back of his boat.
Yeah.
You tell them what you got in the layout and they know what, many of these people are fully mobile. Some of them it's developmental disabilities, some of them it's physical. Our gentleman was a war vet missing his right hand. He had a hook. And so, he could get in and out. He just needed help with the reel.
Yeah, and I would say up until about 2 years ago, when this has started to take off, we've had the volunteers have been great.
Mhm.
So many people, like I said, the charter captains giving up their day, helping out. But it's kind of hit or miss. Usually we get about 25 to 30 people that need a ride is what it amounts to. In the last couple of years, we've had 1 or 2 extra boats.
Yep.
So, it sucks if somebody shows up and you can't take them out. So you want to have more than less. And oftentimes what happens is the people, they'll say they're coming and then they wake up and they don't feel good that morning. And
Yeah.
so you usually have a couple of no-shows. But it's not like when you call up, you're assigned the person you're gonna take out. It's just whoever's there, line up the boats, just start loading them up, and goes really, really smooth. And like I said, super, super rewarding. We even, I talk a little bit about the Journal Sentinel Sports Show too, but we partnered with them with the booth as well, so we kind of work together. So yeah, absolutely love that. That activity, my favorite volunteer thing that we do for the club. Hunger Task Force. So I know you want me to talk a little bit about that. So we work with the Hunger Task Force of Milwaukee in 2 ways. One is that for the Brew City tournament, we ask all the participants to donate their fish to the Hunger Task Force. And 80% of the fish that are caught, if not more, they're whisked away. U.S. Fish and Wildlife does their little, census. And then fishing, a Hunger Task Force takes the fish and they go ahead and lay them. And they collect all of it. The other way that we help them out is that at McKinley Marina, we have a chest freezer that's under lock and key. Any fisherman that wants to donate fish, you know, can do so. You know, it's labeled pretty explicitly what it is. The marina itself has the key. So, anybody that wants to donate fish just goes up to the marina office, grabs a key, you know, opens it up, brings it back and then, you know, locks it up and stuff like that. You have to have it locked because people will steal the fish, the fillets that get put in there. We just took the freezer out last week or 2 weeks ago. So our last load was about 70 pounds of fillets that were in there. So people absolutely do it. Another thing that we use it for, you know, the sign says is when the DNR wants us to do the fish head samples for the wire coated fish. Or stomach samples, we've, you know, had them ask us to do the stomachs samples as well. You know, people can put the fish there as well. We don't have a freezer yet installed at South Shore Park, at that marina. But they've agreed to do it. We just have to go through the permitting process to get them to put it in there.
Is the freezer locked up in a secure area or is it just out in the open there?
It's within the fish cleaning station.
Is that locked at night? Or what?
It's not, but so what we do, we had a metal cage fabricated to fit into it. And that's chained up to something, so it can't
Okay.
walk off, the freezer can't walk off. And then the top of it has got a lock on it, so the cage that we built sort of just goes over the top of it and locks it
Does
with a lock.
does the DNR require the person donating fish leave their data?
Nope,
I just out of curiosity, because they're real fussy with us on that.
nope,
Nope,
nope.
okay.
That gives me some great ideas though about how we could partner with the Reef Point staff. Carrie, I think Carrie would allow us to have that in the secured area. And we could still lock it, and then knowing that you have the key with the marina team makes so much sense because they have security and 24-hour staff.
Did you ever think of a lock, code that you could give to the fishermen?
Yeah, I
To
thought
put it
about
in?
that.
Just gets
or
passed out too.
It gets passed out eventually, everybody's gonna know what it is.
Okay,
yeah.
Somebody's gonna steal it, right?
Yep.
But like, you know, cause if it's there, so, and then at South Shore, it's a little bit different at South Shore because they don't always have an attendant on staff at South
Right.
Shore.
Yep.
They try to, but they don't always have an attendant, but when there is an attendant, I've already talked to them, they said they would, you know, have the key in that little drive-through window or whatever,
Mhm.
that'd be fine. But again, it'd have to be within the locked confines of the cage.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can just tell you from South Shore Park, I know that homeless people sleep in there. You know, and stuff like, it's not secure.
Yeah.
You know, it's
But
just gotta
but
climb
the
a fence.
freezer itself is.
Freezer
secure.
itself is chained and locked.
Okay,
You just have to make sure that there's power for it.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing with the South Shore Park is that they've got to run a power outlet for us to be able to plug in the freezer.
Yeah, if with the after the renovation at Reef Point that they're doing, it could go right by the east side bathhouse. Which is near the Peninsula Fillet Station, and their staff could host the key, so that gives us some good ideas on how we could work with that.
And then does Hunger Task Force have a key and then they come in and pick it up? or
They
do
don't
have
need to
go-
because they don't need it because they just go to the marina.
The
office.
marina staff,
Yeah,
yeah,
they just go to the marina
that's,
staff.
that makes it so much
So we were
easier.
trying to figure out a way
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Darren, when he's got the truck,
Yep.
can go and
Yep.
just pick it up and take it, because that's who we would like to see get it.
Yep. So now, the letter in our tight line, said that our final total, was, 1,818 pounds of fillets.
Yep.
Not fish, but fillets that we donated to the Hunger Task Force
What did,
It's through the season, or that was just.
For the
out of
year.
for the
reason?
year,
for the year.
Okay.
what did we have for the VOW? It was a couple hundred pounds, right?
35-ish.
Through our, so from our Ford or our jackpot events, so
We
we,
had 2 of them.
like you, we have the opportunity to accumulate that quantity if we set up the infrastructure. So it's a great program you got.
Yeah, it's a great program. You know, and you know, you think about it a little bit, you know, when I did the Salmonorama weighing station in Milwaukee this year, I think it was like Saturday, the first Saturday or Sunday, I was coming off the lake. I think it was the first day the first day. The Creel Census guy was out there, you know, came out and talked to me. And he's like, hey, that rainbow that you have, can I have the head?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, no, this is like it's like a 11-pound rainbow. I'm taking this over to the weighing station. You can have the head, but I gotta go weigh this thing first, right? So when I got over by Mary Lee, I said, all right, well, let's figure out a way to help DNR out here. And I don't know, we had
You brought me a
probably
cooler, big ice and a
Brought a
play knife and
cooler,
gloves.
flay knife, bag of ice. I think we probably had,
A
you know,
lot.
3. Yeah, the Creel Sense guy, once we told him what we were doing,
I think the last,
he came over every day to grab them.
right, the last 2 days we had over 30.
So,
Cause they had to be, you know, their adipose had to be missing out, right?
Yep.
I knew that they were-
Yep.
Yeah,
And you know, he was having a hard time getting those heads, and this year they were really particularly trying to look at which strains were reproducing well. Because they're not gonna stock multiple strains anymore.
Mhm.
They want to figure out which one's the most
successful, yeah.
So that's important information for Laura and the crew. But you know, similar thing like Salmon Rama, every one of the weighing stations gonna do the same thing.
Mhm.
You know, collect, you know, not necessarily fish heads, but figure out how to collect for the organization. And donate to something like the Hunger Task Force or.
like when I was taking them, I would text Cheryl and she would get a hold of the Creel survey guy in Milwaukee, then he would come get them, or she would come get them, or actually Laura could have gotten them.
Yeah. The beginning of the year, we accumulate a lot for our own veterans
Yeah.
event on Tuesday of Salmonorama. The guys are sent home with smoked fillets that were caught early in the spring and then fresh fillets from that day.
That's cool.
But the rest of the event and all the rest of the year, this could be a good option for us.
Yeah, so who eats the fish? Talking with the Hunger Task Force, literally they will ask them all year, when are the fish coming? When are the fish coming? When are the fish coming? The big Hmong population that they'll take the fish, when the Hunger Task Force does it, they want the fish heads too.
Yep.
Because they'll make the soup out of it, stuff like that. So they absolutely just love it. And when the Hunger Task Force sends us the letter, they kind of calculate what the dollar value of what we donate is. And they use like basically fresh salmon supermarket rates.
Right.
So I mean, it's like a $60,000-$70,000 donation in their eyes. What we're actually donating to the organization.
Plus, it's a protein that, I mean, 'cause I don't know about the Hunger Task Force or Feeding America, but like what we're getting at now is like, it's a day before they have to pull it off the shelf.
Yep.
You know, so it's kind of like already sat and.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they get something fresh like that fish, oh my God, they went. I can have 2, today they took 2 fish. They didn't care about. There could have been steak. They didn't want it. They wanted the fish, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, you see the Touch of the Wild trailers, the Outdoor Heritage Foundation. I know Winsick brought the trailer down for the Weird Day, which is awesome. But you know, we've donated quite a few times to that organization. I've even like had people. I had one lady call me up and said, "Hey, I got your name from the South Shore Yacht Club. They said, you know, you might want this like mounted fish." And it was a beautiful like rainbow that was mounted probably in like the 60s or some shit. It looked old as hell. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll take it. I'll figure out what to do with it. And I donated that to the trailer, and so that's in there now. But you know, your organization, it's pretty much anybody that wants to use it, just go in and reserve it. You know, and it's a great little addition to like your events and stuff like that too.
Do you know which one's got more stuff in it than others? I know there's a couple that are a little.
There's like, I don't know, I think they're up to 7 or 8 of them now. And every trailer kind of has a different theme. Obviously, when we're doing our fishing events, we want the Great Lakes trailer. And that one's getting pretty full. It's not all fish, there's some bears and wolves and stuff in them too, but you know, at the sports show, they usually have 4 or 5 of them, like on the floor. So that's kind of another organization that we've, you know, helped out along the years. I know in our club, on the board, I think 4 of us are Wisconsin Conservation Congress members. So we're pretty involved, you know, pretty much just pretty involved.
Yeah,
So-
I was the secretary for them, the Wisconsin Conservation Congress.
Yeah.
With that, I didn't know this, I did some research on it, that all started in Minnesota. And it was initially put together for a blind school, because when you say a rabbit, a coyote, a duck, a goose. Blind people don't have anything to correlate that
Reference.
to, so that was actually, they would take the trailer to the
Touch.
school, so they could touch it,
Yeah.
they could feel the texture, and they could feel the size
Hmm.
of the different animals.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's all native stuff, I mean,
Mhm.
they only take Wisconsin game.
Mhm.
They won't put stuff from outside of Wisconsin, but. Yeah, so, I think that strength in numbers, you know. I guess I probably should have listed, Salmon and Rama on here too, because we've been hosting the station for years. I always like hanging out with Mary Lee. And I don't know, I mean, I'm kind of selfish because I'm there talking to the fishermen when they're coming in with these fish. And I know where to go.
It's funny
a couple
because there
hours
are other
later.
people that will ask the fishermen, they won't tell them. He asks them to spill, they spill for him. I don't know what some term he's got, but they just tell him where everything.
Well, I don't ask them like, okay, give me the GPS coordinates where you
Yeah,
were,
yeah.
like, what lure were you using? Like, I remember Ted Bodie came in a couple years ago and he had like, turned out to be the number 2 fish that year. But he waited on the opening morning. And he's like, he came in and he weighed it and I was like, Ted, I don't want you to tell me where you fish, north, south, or right. Just tell me what depth you were at. I'm like, that's all I want to know. Just tell me what depth you're at. It's like 40, okay, all right. I went out to 140 and caught like a 22-pound fish, completely different. He went north. I knew he went north. He always goes north. But I went south. Same depth and did my thing where I normally do it, and that depth, and it was perfect.
Could I ask you to continue to help us with finding ancillary team members to cover the site with her?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that's a challenge, is that tournament. I don't know what it is about it.
Well, we get it. Everybody wants to fish.
Yeah, but that isn't it entirely. I want to fish, right? And I know Tim is pretty much dedicated volunteer at night.
He's my night guy.
He's the
Yep.
night guy, right? And I don't mind coming in the mornings to help Mary Lee out. So generally speaking, we kind of have it covered.
Yeah.
And during that week, I'm not one of the people that takes off, but yeah, like it's been kind of sketchy. I think we had coverage for you every day.
The one guy, and I know he was out on Jeff's boat,
Yep,
Bob,
great check.
no. Hang on, I'll think of it. Anyways, he learned how to, he didn't know his fish, and by the time he left, he was like, oh my god. He
The
was
hardest,
trusty.
the hardest part about the volunteers for Salmonorama, and this
We
is,
didn't know that.
it is nothing that you guys are doing wrong or whatever. It's the people that come to fish in the tournament, don't quite necessarily understand that these are volunteers and they can be pretty disrespectful.
Yes, we know.
And having Mary Lee there's been it's been a lot better. Once she's been there, having like a Salmonorama official, on site.
Yep.
So some of the people that have volunteered for that in the past have just been kind of soured by the experience.
Yep.
And that's unfortunate because I learned a lot about fishing on Lake Michigan just in that week, talking to a whole bunch of different people. I'm sure I've probably seen me doing it if you fish in Milwaukee. But yeah, we're committed to doing it. Absolutely. It's gonna be we're gonna help you out with that every single year.
Awesome.
Just count us in for it. All right, General Sentinel Sports Show. I did want to talk about this. I don't know if your club's gonna be interested or not. I mean, it's somewhat close, Milwaukee. But did I find value in it this year or did I not? It's kind of hard to say, like, what is your motivation for being at the sports show? For me, we used to do these like big raffles at the sports show, like that was our big fundraiser. We'd do like 5 charter trips and a bunch of shit or whatever on our big raffle, $30 a ticket or what, I don't know how much it was, but We never made money on this fucking raffle. Like, we never made money on it. It was always a struggle. We'd go to gun shows afterward to try to get enough tickets. So it was just terrible. So when I took over the club, I said, our number one mission is to get kids flyers so they come to our kids fishing clinics. And the Journal Sentinel Sports Show tends to be like about a month before the kids fishing clinic, the spring clinic or something. So it's fairly close. And we hand out, like our volunteers, they see a kid, they will hunt that kid down, like, take this, give it to your parents. And I really credit that for the success of our kids fishing clinics. So, and I have said flat out to the board, I don't care if we make any money, we're gonna lose money, we're gonna spend the $700 every year, we're gonna do this, It's important for us to invest in the community, get these kids out, and hopefully have a good time. They also, I don't know if they're struggling as a show. The last couple of years, they've gone through different people that are running it.
Their whole taking credit card thing really puts but I know their whole thing is that anything you go to, it's credit card only, no cash.
It's dying.
Yeah.
Mike, the outreach guy at the DNR, and I are talking to the Journal Sentinel Sports Show. The DNR wants to cut down on the size of the booth space that they have. And I think they have to pay. But last year they gave us 6 booth spots for the price of one. I think I bought 1 spot. And they're like, if I give you 5 more, will you do something more interesting that will bring kids?
To make it full,
What's that?
fill it up and kind of
Well, it was like, don't just like,
have a table.
just don't have a table and hand out shit, right?
Yeah.
So we brought the boat in, rigged up with stuff, we let people kind of get up and touch stuff. We had, a couple of the club members that make their own flies. We had like Ryan Sanders from Screaming Drags. We had Muskie Mike with his goofy, flies. You ever seen those alewife flies that Muskie Mike makes? Yeah, and he's a treat. He's an absolute hoot. So, but I had those guys there because they could do stuff. They could show people how this stuff works, how to make it. And they could also sell some stuff. And then because we had such a big presence, they asked me to do a talk. So I got to go up here and pretend that I know how to fish. Some people actually listened. Most people just laughed at me. But it was fun. But I would say the biggest thing I would say about the sports show is like, as an organization, if you want to grow your membership, you want to get the younger people involved. That's commitment. It's the kind of thing that you have to do. Keep the club growing.
Well, I know when I was up there I don't know if it was for the Milwaukee Club but I worked at the DNR booth.
Mhm.
The 2 things I did was we did the kids casting. And the other thing I did is like every fisherman, I handed them the
Pitch clinic.
No, because I don't really think they had a machine market up there. Otherwise, I would have done that. But it was that annual survey thing with the DNR, whatever, I forgot what it's called.
Survey. I don't remember what that.
It's the conservation does it. It's like April 7th of every year.
Yeah, the spring hearing.
The spring hearings, because of that, because of the spring hearings and the people that are fishermen or sportsmen weren't participating, and I didn't know about this until we were at the quarry, we were doing a fishing clinic. And we were gonna fillet out the fish. Vendor could not hit the fish in the head to knock it out. He went into the men's room, killed it. Otherwise, PDOT came in and said you have to bleed that fish out right in front of the kid. I'm not doing that. I wouldn't do that in front of my 6-year-old grandson or granddaughter. They'd be like, no. I get the benefits of it, but I'm not gonna do that at a kid's clinic, right? I'm just not gonna do that. He took the fish into the bathroom, bumped it on the head, brought it back out, and then they did the fillet.
Solving the problem.
Yeah.
But because because if you don't go, the people that are opposed to hunting and fishing, they go and they vote against what we all want.
Mhm.
So that's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, so like I said, for me and the club, this is an outreach opportunity. We're gonna lose money every year doing it, but we're gonna continue to do it. If they invite us back and give us that same kind of space for the same deal. I was thinking about instead of having a boat that makes it kind of hard to get up on there. That we might have somebody like fabricate something that looks like the
Ground
inside of a
level.
boat. So people can get into it and see like, okay, this is how the electronics feel and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's, volunteers are also a problem for that. You just gotta have enough people that are gonna come in and spend the
Where and when
day.
does this take place?
Happens
Usually March, isn't it? Like
March-ish.
March.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
11th and 12th.
it's on my to-do list to reach out to them and get, get the spots kind of scheduled up right now. But it's the March timeframe. The attendance has been really down, so I would say if you guys wanted to do it. Like they'll probably give you the spots for free. They were giving them away last year. So just trying to get people to come in. Bruce City, oddly,
7th through the 9th for 2025.
what's that?
March 7th through the 9th of 2025.
March 7th through the 9th.
Mhm.
Sounds about right. Bruce City, so you guys have an amazing tournament. I fished in like. I don't want to say this. My wife and my family spends the entire summer in Latvia, every year. It's where my wife's from, and I usually, go out there and hang out for about a month when I go. And normally what I do is do it at the beginning of the summer so that I get back in time to hang out with Mary Lee in Salmonorama. And then I can do Bruce City. And
Well played.
it's a cool, yeah, no, seriously, like I have literally landed in Chicago,
And come right.
drove up and started fishing, Salmonorama, like, within a couple hours. Like, yes, so this year I took my trip at a little bit different time. I had to pick between Salmonorama and Bruce City. I chose Salmonorama. And that's the tournament. So I was out of town for Bruce City. I was watching the results from, my apartment in Riga. Yeah, it was kind of weird. But it was a rough year for us. Economy was down, had a hard time getting sponsorships this year. Our big sponsor cut, what they invested in a little bit, but we were able to have it. We've done the pro and the AM division, been drama, over the years, having a 2-day tournament versus a 1-day tournament, this year things kind of like ran really, really smooth. We were back at McKinley.
That probably helps.
That helps. It's a much better place. Participation's been pretty good, pretty steady. We had a little over 105 boats maybe this year. We've been in the 90 to 120 boats, pretty much every year, since we did it here, during the COVID year. That was a really shitty year. We had like 40 boats or something when we did it here. But it's been pretty stable. We don't have thousands and thousands of fishermen like you guys do. But we're one port, one day, kind of tournament where we're still the biggest, single day fishing tournament on Lake Michigan. So it was a good event. Everything ran smooth. There was no drama.
Yeah, there's one person that didn't fish this year.
And as of last night, I found out that we didn't make any money for the club either. So
Really?
I gotta figure out how to change that. It's never been a moneymaker for us. It doesn't really do anything for our membership. Like we don't get people signing up for the club either. So I still like the tournament. It's a lot of fun to fish in. But trying to figure out how to change that dynamic up a little bit. So I don't know, any questions,
Are they gonna still keep the pro and am separate next year?
I don't
There's a
know.
lot of people worried about that.
Well, okay, so I said something at the membership meeting yesterday that I was gonna drop the pro division. My chairman said, whoa, wait a second, we didn't decide we were gonna do that. Ever since we've had the pro division, we have never had more than 20 pro division boats in the tournament. Last year we had 14, 11 or 14, I wasn't there, so I don't remember exactly. And it's stupid, like, these guys don't wanna throw in they don't wanna drop 750 or even 500 last year maybe. To, fish in that division, and make $3,000, like, they're giving up a charter day. Where they can make, easily the same amount of money if they just go and fish, right?
So,
So-
you guys have any ideas, because I know it is hard, then the AMs don't wanna fish against the.
It is,
charter
it's really
guys.
tough, it's really
Then
tough.
they're upset.
Right, it's a trade-off. So, unless we get a major sponsor, and I'm talking like we have a $20,000 purse, to throw at the pro division. I don't know that we'll be able to do it, because we're just not gonna get people that are gonna sign up for it, and if that means that we go back to the old rules where anybody can fish in the tournament. Or whether we say, like last year, we had a rule in the amateur division that if you were. Basically, the rule said if you were paid to fish on Lake Michigan, if you were paid to fish, period. Charter captain, guide, first mate, you were not eligible to be to fish in the amateur division. And
Wasn't it in the rules though that you weren't able to have your boat? So they were just jumping on different boats?
whatever they did at
That was
the
a
end,
year
I wasn't
before
there,
that.
so
Okay.
they
And
might,
I
they
think
tweak
that
some
they
stuff, but.
Did it up because all those guys went on that
It-
Irish eyes or something, that big.
It was
Casper
Irish
Creek
eyes, Irish eyes,
Or whatever,
you know,
I remember fishing next to them, we're getting our ass kicked out there, they're just sitting there all chilling, just fishing, they're like, they're an amateur when it was all done.
and I know Kurt, you guys all know Kurt Regert. You fished down here the last couple of years. And I know Kurt really well. And I remember texting him in the morning, out, Bruce City that 2 years ago. And I was out fishing in it. And it was a shitty morning,
Yeah,
and
it was
we
rough.
were in our 17-foot tracker, so it was just miserable. But the fishing was amazing. By 7 o'clock, we had 4 or 5 4-year-olds in the boat, and I was just tickled pink being like, in this little boat. And I'm like, holy shit, Kurt, like, check this out. He goes, yeah, we're done, we've got 14 fish in the boat. The only thing we're keeping is big one, to upgrade. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, we're well over 100 pounds right now, and I'm like, well, and then he's right over where we were. So we were fishing the same spot, but yeah, that was kind of a shit. So, but both those guys, both those guys that fished on Irish Eyes, they had shitty, the previous day, they sucked. Like, it's not like they went out there and had all this like information of where to go fish. Cause they skunked it almost like the day before. But Irish Eyes, he's got a great boat, like that thing's amazing. You throw a couple of knowledgeable people that know how to, find fish quickly. I can see where the drama happened. So to answer your question, I don't know exactly what we're gonna do with the pro and the AM division this year. If it was completely up to me, I would say we're just going back to the way it was 5 years ago. And if we lose a few amateur fishermen, so be it. But I don't know, more to come.
Have you ever heard of online raffles before? They won't tell you how to run them.
They don't.
They're, this is the club that, yeah.
Yeah, we know a little bit about it.
We got scared away, they're still going.
Yeah,
They beat you up a couple times, did they? Is that what happened? Because they beat us.
No.
Who beat you?
Did they beat you?
We're using you as the example.
well, yeah, so that was. Knowing what we know, I didn't want to be the litmus if the state came around.
State won't come around. It's nothing illegal with what we're doing. So we've done that research aspect of it.
Mhm.
So we have a raffle license, everything is hunky dory about that. The fact that we, like you guys have 501c3, like there is no problem. Facebook allows us to do it. Every once in a while we get shut down. But I'm not kidding. But like we have,
Usually it's the wording that gets you shut down.
it's the wording, right?
Yeah.
And then we show them the 501c3, the raffle license, they're like, okay, you guys can do it.
Who do you show that to?
I don't know, Ron does it, talk to Ron. But yeah, we've always been able to keep it back up.
The concern, when you call the Wisconsin State Gaming Line, the second sentence in their automated message when you call the numbers, as a reminder, online raffles are considered illegal in the state of Wisconsin.
Well, I didn't hear that.
That
I just pretend I didn't hear that.
was when I first came on the board and took up the opportunity to investigate it. He shared the letter that you guys have from the state with the guidance. And I'm like, okay, well, let me call them up. And like literally the second sentence of the automated message, I'm like, well, that was brief.
Yeah, that makes it easy. So the other thing that we do, Ron, his tip, that he would say is, we don't leave the raffles up. Like we delete those posts after that, like a couple of days or a week. So if you look at our post history,
metadata.
You got that from us too.
We don't want it to get flat. We don't want people to like look back and see like this is all you are as a raffle organization, right?
Sure.
So that aspect of it maybe helps us fly a little bit under the radar. Obviously you want people, you gotta leave it up for a couple days so people can see, who won and stuff. Ron and I have talked about how can we do this a little bit differently, like still use Facebook as sort of a communication medium to get people to the online raffles, but do it through a platform that it's okay to do it with or something. I don't know. It's been successful. Previously we had our annual auction. That just, it was a lot of work for a little bit of money. I mean, we had $20,000 to $30,000 in merchandise tied up in it. Like you were saying, Black Friday sales, Ron would go out, that would be what he did on Black Friday. Hunting be damned.
Yep.
He'd go out and he'd just load up on whatever he could. And then we'd sit on that until March. And when I was on the board at that point, it was like we were literally robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like our bank account balance right before the auction would be like $2,000 or $3,000. And yeah, we had like $20,000, $30,000 stuff from the auction, like
Are you
merchandise.
listening to this, treasurer?
Yeah, right. We'd have all this merchandise tied up. And then it's like, you were biting your nails at the auction, like, okay, if 300 people don't show up, we're gonna be giving this shit away, and we're not gonna make
I
our money
actually
back.
went to quite a few of your auctions,
Yeah,
and the problem was the people that went there were expecting to get everything for nothing.
Yep.
And they didn't realize even on Black Friday, it could be a $400 item.
Yep.
And Ron would say, we're gonna start this at 100, people would be like, it's like,
yeah.
but you paid 100.
And we'd still get the $400 for it, like,
Sometimes.
you normally would.
People wanted it for $20, $30, $40. and
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah, 100%. It's a fundraiser, right?
You just, what you got to do at your brew city is do what Jim came up with this year for Salmonorama. Buy yourself a kayak and fill that sucker with booze.
There you go.
No, I'm not joking. He's
not a bad idea.
We sold $20 ticket. I'm not a drink. $10 tickets for that thing, during the entire festival. And how much did we? $7,000 worth of tickets for this kayak full of liquor.
Damn.
And it was all the stuff the bar can't sell, so they give you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We got half
There's a bar that's closing down.
Well, about half the liquor was donated.
Yeah.
So it didn't cost us a ton, but
Yeah.
with the crowds you generate at your weigh-in.
Yeah, we get, there's 400, just do the math, right? There's 4 people on a boat, typically 3 to 4 people on a boat, we get 120 boats. So, I'd say there's usually, 400 or 500 people there.
Well, plus
Sure.
family comes down for the awards.
Family comes down,
ceremony,
stuff like that. So, it's a good crowd.
Yeah.
We had a little larger number than that kept showing up, so that,
Yeah.
What's that?
we had a lot larger numbers.
Oh,
showing up.
yeah, your tournament's insane.
Yeah.
Like, you guys.
Our festival this year was insane.
I literally talking about the Latvia thing, right?
Yeah.
So I fished Sunday morning, and I had to be at Chicago O'Hare at like 2:00, like 2:00 in the afternoon, to catch my flight to Latvia. So we got off the lake at 10:00 or 9:30 or something like that, because Kurt had an upgrade fish and he wanted to get down so they came down. And weighed in fish, and they said it was just an absolute blast. They really wanted to come this year. You guys had to
How many guys you got on the Brew City committee?
I mean, it's just the board, really, generally speaking.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'd say there's three of us. So Dan's the committee chairman. Pete's gonna be the co-chairman this year. And then, Winsec helps out a lot with his connections, you know. And I do a lot of the.
But it's kind of the same thing as us. It doesn't matter how big your membership is, you still got the same.
There's a core group
select
of
group
drivers.
that does the work.
Yeah, you know, our tournament runs pretty smoothly. We need, probably about 10 people to volunteer to set up the stage and shit. That goes pretty easy. And then the day of the tournament, it just kind of naturally, like you know, just naturally the people come back from fishing. And then,
people just
and then
kind
they're
of
there to
filter
help,
in and
you
help,
know,
yeah.
and then they're there to help. So, we don't need a ton of volunteers to get the tournament moving.
So you're leading up to it.
What's that? There's a lot of the work leading up to it, right? Like,
That's what we keep trying to.
yeah, and the fundraising, it's all about money, you know, I mean, you just gotta you gotta pound the pavement. I mean, you guys have done a fantastic job getting sponsors, getting your prize fund up, that's what I gotta do a little. You guys can teach me something, but that's what we gotta
We
do.
fly right.
It's an awesome tournament. We started fishing a few years ago. I think it's one of the.
It's
one of the best
fun.
times we ever-
It's
It
fun,
is a really fun one day
It's a super
tournament.
fun tournament.
it's a fun one day
Everybody I know
tournament.
loves it.
And if you just started the last couple of years, you missed like the favorite part of it, so. We used to be, when we were in McKinley, it was always, you had to check in your boat, like you had to drive by the committee boat. And then you had to stay within like a quarter mile, half mile, the mouth, or the port. And then we would get on the radio and say, everybody go, and it's 5 o'clock in the morning. So the sun is just starting to, like, it's not peaking, but like you can see this, you know, you start to see it.
Navy.
And you just see this sea of lights and waves. I mean, it's the most beautiful thing. I have pictures from years past that are just amazing. Just watching that, and I always be the committee boat. And then like as soon as everybody took off, I'd hail out of there too. But so I got to see like just that sea of lights. It was the coolest thing.
Have you guys had any, with that many boats launching, have you had any problems?
It goes pretty smooth. I usually, as the committee boat, would get yelled at by the marina, hey, get these people out of here, it's backed up, it's backed up. We changed it up a little bit this year, so now you can, I don't care where you launch from. I've got a handheld radio at the marina, and you have to check in with me on a handheld radio. So if you're too far away from the port to get to my hand that I can't hear you, you better
Clearly
go
out of-
closer.
Yeah. you're
You
clearly out
know,
of
so
range.
I know that they're within, you know, generally a mile.
Yeah.
Cause that handheld's not going very far.
Yeah.
That's how we kind of temper it. So if they want to launch out of South Shore, we have guys that launch out of South Milwaukee Yacht Club. We had people launch out of Racine, just drive up. I don't really care as long as you're fishing, essentially fishing out of Milwaukee. Once we started doing that, it's not been a problem. Let's see, what else is gonna talk about? Bender Park, was approved by the county last year to get dredged. Dredging never happened. But they had the funds allocated for it 2 years in a row now. I don't know why they didn't do the dredging this summer, but they were supposed to do it
Slated for early next year now.
again.
Yeah,
There's
slated for.
someplace else out there.
What's that?
When I was down there, they talked and they said it was being used someplace else.
Yeah.
It's usually a problem finding where you can dump it.
No,
That isn't a
using the
problem.
money for something else.
It's not a problem. All right, so interesting story. Paul Smith and I talked quite a bit throughout the year. He had gone fishing with somebody for an article, brown fishing, down by the power plant. For you guys up by the power plant. While he was there, he noticed that they were dredging South Milwaukee Yacht Club, and so I talked to, to the Commodore with the yacht club, and I said, can you tell me how much this costs you? And he's like, yeah, it's like 15 grand a year. We have this thing dredged out. Every year it's about 15 grand. And I'm like, are you shitting me? I called Paul Smith and told him, about that. Paul Smith had been told by the county that they needed to, it was like $200,000 to $300,000 for them to dredge that.
That's what I heard.
And I'm like, Paul, you go find out, go talk to the Commodore, go figure this out. They're full of shit, you know? And we put a little bit of pressure on some of board, the county board guys. They actually did push it through, they budgeted it. And then I just don't know what happened, like. Maybe they reallocated those funds that, for the dredging, because they did do the repairs at South Milwaukee on that break wall this year. And I know that they paid quite a bit of money to have that done, so maybe that's why they didn't do the dredging. So,
See, everyone's so far off base with it, towards something else. I know I heard that while I was down there.
yeah. But I have a friend that's on the county board, and he gave me the inside scoop that it was approved. I guess I'd have to just reach out to him and figure out why it never happened. See what, I don't know if there was anything else I want to talk about. Go ahead.
Commercial fishing for lake trout.
Yeah, look at this slide. So this is my last thing I just wanted to talk about. I know you guys know about the commercial fishing and the lake trout. But what I don't know if you know is that this scope statement issue, this hearing issue is going to the NRB the first week of December. So time's running out in order for you to make your voice heard to the DNR, to the NRB. It's got to go through the NRB. They can stop it, but they need to hear from people. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, the commercial fishermen want to harvest lake trout. It originally started as, hey, we just want to keep this bycatch. It's not going to hurt anybody. DNR did a study. They had 4 hearings last year, the year before, and essentially, like the sport fishermen had some representation, but it was like their lobby, the commercial fishing lobby, they've got the voice, they've got the backing of the NRB, they've got a commercial fishing board, etc. They're winning this fight, and Charlie will say, we're going to be fishing. And what he's proposing is a preliminary gillnet fishing season that would be approved by the NRB this year, for them to start fishing maybe by the end of the year for lake trout. And they're going to use gill nets, and they're asking the NRB to be able to keep whatever bycatch that they catch as well. So it's total BS. So I think it's important that you get something out to the membership. Everybody needs to send a letter to the NRB liaison. Get senators, none of that's going to help. It needs to go to the NRB.
Do you have a link that you can direct me to distribute?
Sure,
to our members?
I can get that for you.
Okay.
Absolutely. But they need to hear our voices. What's
What?
that?
Jason and Arnie.
Yes,
Jason and Arnie.
and I think tentatively we're talking about having them in December, but that might be too late, to hear from them if we need to get our club members mobilized. So,
Yes.
if I could get that link from one of them beforehand to get it out.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll help, for you to sign up and, do public comment, for the NRB as well. Bob Winsek's a member of he's the president of the federation, so, he's got a few extra signatures under his belt. I'm on the Great Lakes, WCC committee. We've kind of made our position known. The DLC, the leadership committee, put the questionnaire on the spring ballot this year, and it was overwhelming that the state of Wisconsin does not want to allow commercial fishing for lake trout. And they're gonna ram it through anyways, which sucks.
We gotta do to stop it, so you gotta let everybody know.
We gotta stop it.
Take.
You gotta do something.
You gotta tell people what it's gonna take or whatever, someone's gonna.
Yeah.
Did they hire a lobbyist?
I mean, technically, I think they've had a lobbyist for years.
They've had one for years.
Yeah, which is why the, Lakeshore Business Association, we gotta get one too.
Right.
So, we've been a member of the LBA, for a couple of years now. To help support that organization. And I don't know what to do,
So this gets tough when it turns political.
it's political, right? And I think the DNR staff's between a rock and a hard place. It seemed crystal clear to me when they had those 4 hearings, up in Cleveland, that the data was saying that it would not support commercial fishery, that it has not recovered. It's in a state of flux. It's kind of going up and down. And that adding commercial fishing to it would just be problematic. And I thought that was kind of the end of it. I remember that 4th meeting, hearing, Brad and Cheryl's assessment of the situation, the final report, thinking, okay, good, this is a done deal. And it went forward anyways, science be damned kind of thing. And it's gonna be devastating. The tight line, not this last one from this week, but last month, 2 stories stuck out at me. State of Alaska shut down the salmon fishery. Yeah, because of gill nets. That had a huge impact. It was just accidental, just caught too many salmon. And it was enough to shut the whole fishery down.
That could happen here.
Could happen here, absolutely, and then, the 2 stories that I had on the front page, Alaska, here's what the commercial fishing are trying to do here in Wisconsin. So it's gonna be devastating.
My biggest question, how did they ever get past that, seeing that you're only supposed to feed a certain size lake trout? How can you commercially fish that? When you can only take a certain size fish, supposedly.
Not human consumption. They're making dog food out of it.
Well, I mean, you listen to
Making
those
money
guys,
on
what
it.
they wanna do is, when it originally started, we wanna keep these bycatch. And, it's just for the little guys up in Door County, they wanna make some smoked salmon dip out of it, right? And that's how this whole story started, little sob story. It's a shame we have to throw all these fish away. We're not really trying to catch them, but sometimes we just do.
But they're not doing their paperwork.
Now they want to keep 30,000 fish.
They actually want to self-govern themselves too, correct?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's no way to keep track of what they're pulling in.
No, and Winsek's got this, like, he gets on a soapbox about, the sport fishermen. Are the ones that have to pay for the enforcement, and that is true, right? There's no way to segment the funds.
We actually paid for that fishery.
Netting. Well,
To.
we pay for the enforcement. Remember, the Fish and Wildlife stocks the lake trouts, doesn't come out of DNR dollars. But the enforcement definitely comes out of DNR dollars, and the commercial fishermen, they don't. I mean, they pay what, $300 a year for their permit. That's all they do now. Charlie has talked about the investments that they make, outside of that, studies and whatever else, and I think it's legit. I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think any of these guys are bad people. They're trying to make a living. But don't do it with the lake trout, because I guarantee you, just look at their current actions the last 2-3 years. What do you think the next thing that they're gonna say is, well, we're catching all these salmon. I mean, like, we're sorry, but they're dying. Like, you really want us to just throw them back in the lake? Let us keep the salmon, and then it's just this slippery slope, and I'm not willing to just stand by and watch that happen. I don't know. That's it. That's all I talk about. What else do you want to know from me? Any other questions about the club?
My hot buttons.
Covered it real good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I was curious to hear if you knew anything more about Bender. Because obviously that's a pinpoint for a lot of our guys with outboards in the winter. I got
Closest launch, get it done.
well, for the first time I get to launch with that with Nick Hutchison in his little banger boat. I guess I'll call it his little secondary. And he had to get out walk us out, kind of lifting up the back end as he did.
Yeah.
But we made it out.
That too.
Yeah, we made it out. We had a killer day, so it was fun. That was my first winter trip out there.
$400 launching out of that, in Salmon Ramp, or whatever, it was $200 or whatever for fish of the day.
Oh, did you?
We won brown trout fish of the day, fish not a vendor.
Good place to be for it. On the gearhead side, I just had to pull this up because I was really impressed. But if you guys don't know, Dave Brinkman has a commercial sewing machine. You wouldn't see him as a seamstress
No.
in the back of your mind, but
Yeah, we would.
and maybe you know him on Friday nights by his other names, but no, he's doing a phenomenal job. My canvas that came with my boat was, pretty rough at the time we bought the boat 4 years ago. And I have nursed that sucker through with sealant and clear vinyl tape on my sides. But just wanted to make it clear, I know some of the members last week or last meeting didn't even know that he does it, but if you guys need biminis or surrounds, reach out to him.
Andy did pro deckies up to Milwaukee.
What's that?
Did Andy? pro
Yeah, and I know
deckies
he's done some for,
If you wanna look at the work, he did, my whole canopy plus a backdrop and everything on it.
last year, right?
Last winter.
Yep, and so I held off because he was working on his, so he's doing mine, he just did the top.
That was with the glass and everything too.
Yep, he's doing the full surround on mine, but it's nice quality stuff if you guys are looking.
Fixed a couple of my windows, you did a good job.
Yeah. So it was funny, he was complaining about like a stitch mark and I'm like, where are you looking? I don't see anything. So, yeah, just good thing to know for everyone.
I'll be honest, he does a really good job. He is just nerdy, but a lot of the work is really
Yeah.
nice.
And this was something mine didn't have before that I love. He puts zippers across the crossbeam, so you don't have to take your bimini bars apart to get the fabric off if you want. You just unzip them right off and the whole thing comes down. So upcoming events, we obviously have our membership meeting today. As Jim said, resumption of the Salmon-Rama committee meetings. First Monday in December. And then our next meeting is December 11th, and I think we just need to circle around with the guys from WLBA, because I think we were talking to them about coming out for that time. I forgot who talked to them about it, but then January we roll into the new year. I'll have to check with the board guys. The January 1st is technically the first Wednesday of the month. I don't know if we plan on having a board meeting on that Wednesday or not, but we'll figure that out later. And then 2025 event dates, just put them all together on a calendar. Root River cleanup is April 19th. Net pens, I think the date's tentative based on what we hear from the DNR typically, right? RJ? Yeah.
They call.
Yes, jackpot series dates are up. Those will be confirmed and broadcast out publicly shortly. Salmon-Rama and Weird Day set up, and then we're, TBD, we're looking at dates for the kids fishing derby or the kids fishing event, and also volunteers for running that. So that's it.
Right.
Oh,
I do have t-shirts there from Salmon Unlimited if you're interested, $20. And don't forget the results of the vote.
she's gone.
Don't think everyone's in.
Yeah, I don't know that there was.
Congratulations to everyone.
We had 5 spots, we had 5 candidates, so as long as everyone accepts the fact that they were elected,
That was really
to
tough.
carry through.
I don't know if you're gonna do it.
So.
You got in?
Yeah, I had to beg him a little while, but I
It
think
wasn't just you, Josh, just so you know.
that,
There
no,
were a few more guys that were leaning on me.
yeah, well, in all fairness, you're finishing out your degree, right?
Yeah.
So
it's like
he's
this
been
next
holding
side,
off, just trying to balance personal time, but I think we're all excited to see, Jason join the board, so.
Yeah, hope you with your GED.
This year he didn't eat the crayons.
Thanks for coming in and doing the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, absolutely.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Glad to have you.
The freezer stuff